Hey everyone, welcome to Into the Inkwell. Joseph here.
My name is Milvio, and today we have a very special guest, our very first interview in the channel. So, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Daniel Vicens, also known in the Lorcana community as Cerek, and it's a pleasure being here.
Yep, and with that being said, let's hop into the Inkwell. All right, guys. So, like we said before, we have a special interview today. We're definitely going to give you the space to talk about yourself, but we'll start it off saying Sedic is one of a known member in our Lorcana community here in Puerto Rico. He has topped multiple events, very well known. He's been to all of the DLCs.
Yes, that's
all,
correct.
all of the DLCs. That is quite an achievement.
Mr. Moneyman right there.
Mr. Money Man.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
So right now, we know Cerek since he started playing Lorcana. He was the one that made me play Lorcana. So, just tell us a little bit about yourself and about TCGs in general. Like, what's your experience? And just tell us about yourself a little bit more.
Sure. So I started getting into TCGs back when I was in high school. I started playing Yu-Gi-Oh, but very casually, might I add. I didn't get into competitive TCGs until after I graduated from high school and started studying engineering in Mayagüez. I started playing Force of Will, Hearthstone competitively, and my love for card games only grew from there, right? Fast forward to here, graduated from college, and I stopped playing TCGs. Lorcana comes 2023, and it's a blast. The first chapter comes, I'm telling Milvio here, let's do this, let's play this game. The art is beautiful, and all of a sudden, I have been to every single DLC, and I have gotten multiple top places. So I think the game is calling to me, and hopefully it stays for the long run.
So you could say it was love at first sight, right?
Correct, yes. You could say it was love at first sight, yes.
Now, you mentioned a couple things before, like Force of Will.
Yep.
I don't know, how many of our viewers got to play Force of Will. I feel like it had a up and then down all of a sudden.
Oh, I agree, definitely. The meta when Reflect Refrain came, it just destroyed the game as we know it. Like it completely did a ruler that was very broken, and it messed up the game completely.
Yeah, and for those of you guys that don't know, basically, just imagine any type of any TCG game, and everything is well balanced, and then a new box comes out, and that box has the one deck that is basically tier 0, and I think it was every 6 months for a box or something like that. It was a long period of time, and even the boxes that came after the ruler came out, it completely destroyed the game competitively, because it was either you played that one deck or you just don't play at all. So it was not fun.
So you said you played multiple TCGs before. How do you feel the Lorcana compares to those other TCGs?
That's a tough question, right? Because Lorcana has the simplicity, but it also has that complexity in its simplicity, because it's just ink a card, play something, and your opponent inks something and plays something, and that's it. There's no interaction in between players except for challenging, and that's what makes it so hard, because you have to preemptively know what your opponent is gonna do the following turns. And I know that's how every TCG works, but you have in Yu-Gi-Oh, you have answers, you have quick spells, you have traps, you have everything, interactions with your opponent. Here you don't have that. So one bad move and it's over. The game can be over as quick as that.
Yeah.
I was just gonna ask. So yeah, you said that the game is very easy to pick up, because we have new players coming around and just testing the game out. But as you said, we also believe that it also has, even though it's easy to play and to start learning, it does have a high ceiling when it comes to competitive play. So not only do you have to preemptively start thinking about what your opponent is gonna do, but you have to think about how you're gonna respond. So that's why we basically fell in love with the game, and I'm not talking for you, but I think we can all agree on that, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. And I would think that the hardest part of this game is not even just knowing preemptively what your opponent is gonna do. It's more about the mulligan. The mulligan, the altering. Sorry, it's not the mulligan. It's the altering.
Oh yeah,
and
the correct term.
Proper terms.
what
yeah.
you are going to be inking. Like the inking is the most important part of the game. Like
I agree.
a card you ink is a card you're not gonna see ever again. That's what makes it so challenging to know what you're gonna ink.
Yeah, and it wasn't up until recently that we had that Ravensburger came out with the one card that lets you take a random card, obviously, from your inkwell into your hand, which is Mufasa, which came out last set on set 5. But
Great card.
it's a great card, but hefty cost. But not only that, since it's the first card that ever does that in this game, what do you think about the future about certain cards doing the same thing as Mufasa or something similar?
I welcome them. I think that we already have cards that put characters, locations, items into the inkwell. So there has to be. So there has to be other cards. You know that. There has to be other cards that are some other form of getting that ink back to your hand.
Yeah. So I don't know about you guys, but we should get into the juicy parts of this interview.
Yeah.
So, Cerek, you said before that you have topped multiple events, and specifically the last event that we had was DLC Seattle. That was about at the time of this recording, it was about 3 weeks ago, almost a month. So, tell us, Sedic, how did it feel going to Seattle compared to the other DLCs? Because you did say that you went to every single one of them.
Yes. So obviously there were high expectations from not only me but other players. It was complicated mentally because it's my last opportunity to get the invite, to get that continental invite, and it's a lot of pressure, you know. I've been to 5 other DLCs. I've gotten top 64 in Atlanta, top 32 in Toronto, but not right there to get that top 16 and get my invite. And this is the last DLC. So it's all or nothing. And sadly, I came up short, lost my round 8, but it is what it is. I learned a lot about my playstyle, and I think that come the next set of DLCs, I'll be ready and I'll get my invite.
Okay. And so you said that this was basically your last opportunity to get that chance for an invite. So it being Seattle and a lot of people having that same type of pressure, you know, I imagine that the stakes were very high for everyone, and everybody was playing on a very, you know, a way further competitive level than most DLCs. What do you think was the toughest matchup for you during the DLC?
What you're saying is very true. Like, everybody played their very best. Everybody played hard and played very tight. My hardest matchup would definitely be my round 8 opponent. I was playing red blue. He was playing green steel, and you know, it's the gentleman's agreement, all or nothing type of deal. And yeah, I got to 19. He had 18 and 2 characters. I couldn't banish any of his characters, and you know, that was game. I lost at 19. He got me at 20, and you know, that ended my run.
That's tough.
Yeah. Now, you did say that you were playing red-blue. So, how do you decide on which deck to, like, pilot, basically, before the tournament even began? Because I know, like, as everybody that has gone to a DLC knows, you do have side events, specifically the Friday event, that you can go ahead and test everything out. So, I know that you, personally, that you went ahead and participated in that. How do you end up choosing the final deck before the main event?
So that's a hard question because there's a lot of data to look at. You have index. Index is a recollection of all the events that have occurred, and they have all the deck lists posted, so you can see what is winning on what tournament, and that gives you more or less an idea of what is going to be seen the most in the challenges, and you try to adjust to it. I know that in Las Vegas, for example, nobody was expecting Green Steel to take it, and nobody was playing against, Green Steel is going to be the deck to beat. It's red blue or red purple or even amber steel, but no one expected Green Steel, and all of a sudden, Green Steel takes it.
Especially because by the time DLC Vegas came up for everybody, Bucky was recently errated, so everybody did not have Green Steel on their bingo cards because everybody thought, or at least to my knowledge, everybody thought the deck was dead.
It had fallen out of favor a little bit. Yeah. So do you think that had something to do with Zanzayed's, I guess I want to say I'm not trying to say he was favored during Vegas, but the outcome. Do you think the outcome had to do something with the fact that Green Steel had fallen out of favor?
So Green Steel fell out of favor, but the purists of Green Steel knew that Green Steel did stuff prior to Bucky. You had it for set 3, and you didn't have Diablo at that time, and set 3 was a menace. In Atlanta, a lot of the meta share was Green Steel. And it didn't run the Bucky and discard. It ran the Prince Johns and I'll discard you. So it's a different thing that people forgot about because they were just so focused on Bucky.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Sansayed comes with Green Steel and just massacres the whole competition.
Yeah. So from what you can remember from the DLC, a couple weeks after Seattle, what was the best moments or plays that to this day you're proud of doing?
So this might not have been in the main event per se. It was on the side event of the Sunday.
It counts, people.
It counts. It counts. It definitely counts because. So I was playing against Red Purple. It was game 2. I was on the play, and I had a dime out with I think 3 items or 4 items, and I had something close to 9 lore, I think, and there was a position where I had to either B-prep my board, B-prep nothing, B-prep my opponent's board, or play a tempo lucky die, a second lucky dime, and brawl his Flynn Rider so he didn't get the 3 lore, putting him at 17, I think, and he would have won if he had goat pounds and replayed the goat.
So you took a chance.
I took the chance because I had a Tamatoa in my hand that could pick back up the popsicle and give me enough to win the game in a single turn. So he didn't have that out, and then all of a sudden I just play the Tamatoa, and he's counting, and he's like, do you have the 4 extra ink after playing the Tamatoa? I'm like, yes, and I just tapped in for 12 in a single turn, and it felt very satisfying.
Nice.
It felt very
It always
satisfying.
does. Whenever you hit dime like that, it's always satisfying.
Yeah. But yeah, that's actually pretty good to know that Red Blue was your trademark basically, because you did play that in Seattle. You also played that in Toronto, and I think it was your deck choice for Atlanta, for Texas, right?
No,
Texas was Sapphire Steel, right?
Correct.
Oh yeah, Sapphire Steel. Yeah.
So Atlanta was Sapphire Steel. Chicago and Fort Worth were both Sapphire Steel as well. And then for Toronto, I made the swap to Ruby Sapphire.
Okay.
And I stayed with Ruby Sapphire all throughout Seattle.
That's nice. So, knowing the amount of experience that you have gathered throughout all previous 5 DLCs coming up to Seattle, did you care? Because I know you're well known in the competitive community, but do you care about any big names such as No I'm Not, anybody from Forbidden Mountain, Sansayed, etc.? How do you prepare? How do you mentally prepare for these situations if they ended up happening?
So I have good relationship with all of the people you just mentioned. So it would be like just playing a friendly game. But for example, in Seattle, I played against Moyen. I didn't even know he was Moyen until someone pointed it out, and I'm like, well, oh, by the way, he's Moyen. I'm like, well, I'm Cerek, so let's play. And we ended up splitting, and it was a very very tough match, but it's a split. Like I know I have the level that they have. Of course, I'm not no Magic the Gathering Hall of Famer like Frank Karsten, but I am at that level where I can preemptively know what my opponents are gonna do on their turns and what I need to do to keep the game to my advantage.
Yeah, so you could say that even though you may or may not know that they're big names or popular players in the community, at the end of the day, it's just a normal game between two people.
Correct.
Two players just playing it out,
Yeah.
high stakes,
Yeah, obviously some of the plays get a little more complicated and more in depth. Like you can tell that the guys know about the game and know how to play the game. Like a person that just picked up the game doesn't do the same level of plays that someone like Numnut, Sailor, or Moyen do.
Yeah.
Like it gets complicated, and if we're both on the same skill level, then it just comes down to whoever draws those cards in the key turns.
So circling back to your final deck choice for Seattle, can you tell us a little bit more about your deck in general, without going too much into details about certain cards? Just in general, do you think you were going more the standard route for Ruby Sapphire? Do you think you played it or you teched it in a certain way for expecting certain matchups during throughout Seattle?
So certainly my Ruby Sapphire was on the vanilla side, on the traditional side. Sisus, human Sisus, big Sisus, ice blocks. I think I also was running 2 scars in case I played against Amber Steel. But the matchup I actually wanted to play against, and even though everyone says that we're unfavored, it's Emerald Steel. I want that match. I know I can beat that match. And funnily enough, I lost my round 8 to Emerald Steel, but it wasn't like a one-sided game. It ended 19-20, so it's not like it was one-sided.
Okay. Now, I do understand that you also, like you just said, you wanted the matchup that pretty much every Ruby Sapphire player hates the most. I know I played Seattle Ruby Sapphire and I hated that matchup. I got 5 in a row, but that's besides the point. But you
I only
being lucky you.
I only got 1.
I got
Now
3.
you were so invested in Ruby Sapphire. So what made you feel this way towards Ruby Sapphire, and what made you feel this was the right call out for the deck that you chose for this? Because as we all know, Ruby Sapphire was one of the top contenders for the tournament alongside Green Steel.
Mm-hmm.
So what made you choose Ruby Sapphire for this?
So, familiarity with the deck would be the first thing. Comfort. You see people like Kendall, Numnut, that stays with Ruby Amethyst because that's their signature. And they perform well because they know all the ins and outs and they don't care what they're facing. They know how to beat that type of deck. You have other people that are jack of all trades that can play anything and they will perform very well. So I stayed with Ruby Sapphire. I thought it was the best contender because it has a good on the draw play, and just ramping ones puts you where you're actually going first, basically, because you jump 1 ink over your opponent.
Yeah, and as a Ruby Sapphire player myself, I know that we pretty much have the best top deck of the game. So
Yes, and our top decks are 100% better than any deck. I was considering playing a Sapphire Steel, but it would have been the whole new world version, no version of whole new world. So why would I want to play a deck that wants to do basically the same thing as Ruby Sapphire, but it doesn't have those cards that banishes stuff when they play it? That's the power of the red cards, of Ruby cards.
I completely agree.
So, with your, Ice Block Sisu standard Ruby Sapphire deck, what do you think gave you the edge? Or basically, since there were a couple of people in the DLC playing that style of Ruby Sapphire, what cards do you think are most effective against other matchups? Like, what do you think are the most, key components of your deck?
So, our key components, obviously we have the Ice Block Sisu and Big Sisu shift line for anything that is lower to the ground. Call it Amber, Amber Emerald, Amber Steel, Purple Amethyst Steel. All those aggro types of deck, they fold the moment you can land a Big Sisu. We have Beat Reparts, we have Scars, we have, my deck was tagged for those matchups. We have Tamatoas that close out the games into slower paced decks. I was running Great Stone Dragon, which actually gave me like 30 ink in one of the games, and it was insane because I could double dime that same turn with a Tamatoa and tap both dimes. It was crazy. Like how do I get there just with that card?
Yep. So right now you spoke about a lot of different cards since you were playing Sisu on Ice. So to you during this tournament, from what you can recall, what would you consider your MVP card in your entire deck?
Definitely, it would be Hiram. Hiram performed so well in the whole tournament. And I'm sorry, I know I say this, and if this video gets viral, they're gonna call for a ban on Hiram. But Hiram is the best Sapphire card in the game. Like it doesn't have the same levels as Diablo, but it's up there.
That's a conversation for another video for sure.
Facts. So yeah, we don't want to continue on this line with Seattle, bore you with more questions regarding that. That's already passed. So let's talk a little bit about the future and what's upcoming for Lorcana. How do you think the competitive scene is evolving so far in Lorcana, both local and internationally?
Locally, we see new people playing here every day. Like in our LGS, it gets filled with new people, and they know how to play the game. Like they have experience playing the game because they come from other TCGs. They have prior TCG experience. Globally, I'm excited for DLCs in Japan and China. Like those, I'm definitely gonna try to make it there because I've never been to Japan or China.
Money man.
But hey, when the DLCs pay for your trips, you're doing it right.
True.
But yeah, you can see that people are playing a lot better. Like they have gotten better. Like you put people playing in Atlanta versus the people playing in Seattle, and I could say that half the people that entered the top 64 in Atlanta are not gonna be there. Like that high was the competitive level in Seattle.
Oh.
Yeah, it was insane.
That's great to know. Specifically, our local community. Also, by the way, shout out to Weepucks because we're filming here and best LGS for sure.
Best LGS.
Best LGS.
This is where the fire comes from.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Any of our viewers who say, "Dang, those Puerto Ricans are killing it in the Lorcana community," it's because we come from here.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's for sure.
Yep.
Now, going back to the future. Now, is there anything on your wish list that you would like to, at least for the developers, to implement in the game, like any new mechanics or anything that you know from previous games, from other games? Like, what would you like to see?
So there's something wishful thinking, and it would be like if this card keeps being such the problem that it is. Like we have the new Lilo that when at the start of your turn she comes back from the discard, but there should be cards that do something when they are discarded. That's my opinion. Like, it doesn't have to do something overpowered, but something like discard a card and deal 2 damage to something.
Okay.
For example, I know Sheriff of Nottingham exists, but a lot of cards exist that does that, but specifically I'm talking about a card that says if this card is discarded, do something, do X, Y, Z, whatever.
Okay.
That's what I would be expecting. Another mechanic would be banishing the inkwell or something.
Ooh.
That would make things
Toxic.
a little. Hey, we have bent to my will. Like, come on, we have the toxicity already.
Oh man, but
People just don't know it, but
That's-
there's the toxicity in the game.
Okay.
That's harsh, though,
So
banishing equal
Joseph,
cards.
I just want to ask you, since we're already on this topic, I might as well just ask you out on this. Is there any like new things that anything on your wish list for Ravensburger to do?
yes.
Yes,
Um,
there's quite a few things I would want Ravensburger to fix, and I think they need to go up in the rounds that we're playing. There's
Oh,
2,000 people for 9 rounds. I don't think that's feasible, especially in a 2-game format tournament. Like, no.
2-game format is, in my opinion, terrible. But to answer you, Milio, if I had the opportunity, like where win some type of sweepstakes, where Ravensburger goes, hey, you get the chance to like create a card. I already have one in mind. I've been saying this since way back, and it's a card that says it's either A, when you have this card in your hand, you can ink it, or when you draw it, you can ink it.
Okay.
or
I've been thinking about this a lot lately. A card that says when you ink it, you can draw a card.
That's interesting.
That is interesting.
Would the card that when you draw it and you put it into the inkwell, would it be exerted or would it be readied?
I think to be fair, to keep it fair, it would have to come in
has to be
exerted.
exerted,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it would be a card that you'd have to have it in hand. You'd obviously it'd have to be an inkable card. You'd have to be able to show it to your opponent and say, okay, well, this is triggering, and then it would come in exerted. Yeah.
Okay,
That's
yeah,
fair.
that makes sense. Yeah, that would be cool. That would be a cool implementation. Yeah.
So, any cards that have piqued your interest in Azerite Sea?
Definitely quite a bit. Like, I've been talking with Milvio, and I know we've been testing out the Emerald Sapphire list. Bend to my will is Chef's Kiss.
And Toxic. Don't forget Toxic.
And Toxic. And obviously I'm hyped for Maui Shark. Like, Maui Shark is such a good card, and it gives so many cards that you wouldn't have given the time of day a chance. Like, you can play Poisoned Apple and exert something from your opponent and trade it. You can play Shield of Virtue again and attack twice to get 2 cards back. So yeah, there's a lot of possibilities with the Maui Shark that needs to be explored.
Yeah, even cards that were cut out from the Ruby Sapphire strategy, such as Develop Your Brain, because now we have Visions of the Future that came out last set. Now you can do both of them, and you get 1 lore if you have Maui Shark.
Yeah.
So it kind of fixes one of the main problems that Ruby Sapphire has, which is gaining lore outside of the usual Lucky Dime, Tamatoa shenanigans kind of thing. So it gives you another way to ramp up that lore count.
Yeah. And it helps you as well because you can play cards. It gives you the room to play cards like a Pirate's Life and help you a lot against aggro decks, because you're gonna take 2 lore from your opponent, you gain 2 lore, and then you can trade with the shark and get it back, sing it or play it, and then take 2 lore, and you just keep recursing it until your opponent's essentially at 0 and you win the game, right?
Yeah, so we know that Azerite Sea kind of brought a lot of decks into fruition, a lot of new strategies, specifically what we have been used to, which is Steel Song, which is Amber Steel. Now we have the aggro version, having Lilos, Simbas, we have Calhoun, a lot of other things. So
The famous Boomy Steel, as you might say, the Boomy Steel, which he got top 64 in Seattle and top 32 in Las Vegas.
now, just stepping away from Asteroid C, going back to you, Sarek. What are your plans for the next season, the upcoming season?
I'll practice hard with players of high caliber and with my locals, because without my locals, I wouldn't be where I am at right now. And, play tight and try to get that invite for Continentals.
Okay. Speaking of invites, are you gonna try your luck with LCQ?
That's a question that will be answered. Like, my answer would be yes, but I need to know more information about the specifications, when they're going, because every day that they don't give out information, it's a day that trips get expensive. They get more expensive.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be rough, but I would definitely want to be there. I would definitely want to participate in the LCQ and win my LCQ run, because I know a lot of people would be happy to see me at the Continentals. Like, people from different teams, from Labyrinth, from Ink Thieves, from the Forbidden Mountain, from everywhere, they would be happy to see me there.
Translation for this: he's gonna wait for EU to have their Continental so he can see how their meta shapes out, and then he's gonna decide.
That's not what I said. That's not what I said. But it's a high possibility.
So we're just about wrapping up in here with this interview. So Cerek, any shout outs you want to make? I know that recently you were brought into the Ink Thieves, so that's your main team.
Yep.
But I know that you also practice with a lot of other people, not only locally, but also through the internet with other people.
Yeah.
So any shout outs that you want to go ahead and do?
Definitely the first shout out will be to my local scene, because without them I wouldn't be where I am at right now. Second, my shout out will go to the Ink Thieves, that they accepted me, and I hope good things come from us in the following DLCs. And third, it will be for the Secret Lorcana Testing Club, which is a club that I am a member of.
Secret.
And Secret.
Secret.
Well, he's wearing the jacket, but secret.
Yep, I'm wearing the jacket. It was established on 2024, and it has very high caliber of players which have helped shape the meta. Actually, the San Sayed's list that won Las Vegas was brewed in that Discord, and played in the side event, and then he swapped into the deck and won Las Vegas with it. So yeah, we're bouncing ideas off each other, and we're getting to where we can create decks that will win DLCs, and that's something to be very excited about. I just haven't had the luck to get my invite or get a Mickey yet, but the time will come.
I mean, you still have the LCQ in January, so
Yeah.
we just have to wait and find out. And obviously, we're gonna be cheering for you.
Thank you.
So you're gonna be, I think, the only one here from Puerto Rico that's gonna be participating in the LCQ.
Correct.
We have another player that made top 16 in Seattle, so he's gonna be participating in the Continental. So we're gonna be keeping an eye out for our players here from Puerto Rico.
Yeah. I also think Michael is going to be competing in the LCQ as well. So
there you
there's
go.
the three players from Puerto Rico that made top 64 in at least one DLC are going to be in the LCQ, I think.
Yeah, so
that's good.
watch out, because Puerto Rico is here, and
We're coming
here,
for you.
We're here to stay. So
With that being said, Sedic, we really appreciated having you here. Thank you for being on with us, with sharing your experiences in general with Lorcana, in general with the DLCs. It's honestly been super awesome to have you here.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. It's good to talk about the experiences that I have gone through my DLCs. And it's been a lot. It's been a lot. It's been a lot of highs and downs, and it's good to be able to express it. And
yeah, no worries.
With that being said, make sure to like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more Lorcana content. Let us know what you thought about this interview. Let us know anything below if you've if you've gone to the DLCs. How did your experience go?
if you've played against me,
Let us
Or
know
any,
down
or
below.
any of us, because we were there too.
everyone
Obviously,
was
he's
there.
the one in the spotlight, but you know, we were also there.
With that being said, this was Into the Inkwell. Thank you again. Take care.